Well, going based on that fight alone, you tend to think he's lost a step. Maybe the motivation because he's an extremely rich man now, and he got a TV series and all the stuff taking away his focus.
I want to turn the light on. 1 second, let's see how it looks. Yeah, it looks great. You look great, Barry. Pro boxing fans here in Brighton ahead of Harlem Eubank versus Schwarz. With me, Barry Jones. Last time I saw you was in Saudi.
I didn't have a coat on, did I? The last time you saw me.
Saudi. It was a good little trip. You were a busy man. Another week comes, another fight. This time in Brighton. We just interviewed, and I've just seen it with Wasserman Boxing, Chris Eubank Sr. and Harlem Eubank. Very passionate, Chris is about the whole Conor Benn situation. What did you do? What did you take from that just then?
Well, I was trying to steer it away from Conor because at the minute he doesn't have a license, so I don't get involved with that Conor Benn situation too much because we got so much information, but we don't really have any information about it. So if he doesn't have a license, why would we talk about him? I mean, when he gets the license back, he's a great addition. He's a good fighter. We want to see him back. He's a big name, good fighter. And it's exciting times. But at the minute, Harlem Eubank has got lots of options. If he gets a good result, a good win on Friday night, focus on himself and what's next for him. A world title will beckon. The Conor Benn fight, if it was available, would be a huge money fight for him. But it's not as big as Eubank Jr, Chris Eubank Jr and Conor, obviously. But it's still a big fight for him. But is it a big fight for Conor? I'm not quite sure. But either way, Chris is Chris, isn't he? I'm not going to stand there and argue with Chris. I would come second best. But he's passionate about that. I think he's got a bee in his bonnet about it. He wants to prove. I think he wants to vindicate some sort of maybe the system's been abused. That was what he was saying, but that's his opinion, and he's entitled to have it.
Let's talk about Friday though. There's obviously a hurdle, as there is every fight, and this time it's Schwarz. He's experienced, as I said in the press conference, faced some valid opponents that we know of, Jack Catterall and everyone else that they named. Do you feel like this is the time for Harlem to shine, to show that these 11 years that he's been talking about in that press conference, all the work he's put in, this is the fight to push him forward?
Yeah, I think so. I do. I think he's been a massive improved fighter here at Harlem, and I think he's at the stage of his career now and his age that he knows who he is. He knows his strengths and he knows his weaknesses, so he can adapt to that. I think Schwarzkopf is stylistically a good fight for him. It's physically tough, but I think he'll know where he is. And I think with the movement that Harlem has shown in his last few fights, especially the short movements around the target, to be able to come off the ropes and put you on the ropes, I think Schwarzkopf might find himself chasing shadows a little bit in this fight. So I do expect a good performance from Harlem. I think it's geared up for that. It's fraught with danger, like it should be. He's stepping up a little bit of a level. But I do think this is the fight where we see if he's ready for the next step. They're talking about world titles. I'm not quite sure that world title should be next. Whether he stays a super lightweight, which is an incredibly tough division, or welterweight, which is probably a harder division. You want to be 100% ready to go, but he's one of the most improved fighters, and his learning curve has been quite steep, and he's passed every test so far. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You sort of spoke about it just then. Welterweight, it's a tough division. There's some big guns out there. Which fight, ideally, as a boxing fan, would you like to see him when he moves up to 147?
Oh, Conor Benn, of course. It's a difficult fight. I'd like testing the waters and the cross-promotional fights, but like a Florian Marku fight would be a really good fight. I think stylistically a good watch and a gauge of whereabouts he is. The people will see maybe say Josh Taylor, but I think that's a big step up from where he is now to next. So you're sort of looking about, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but you're sort of looking for a fighter who's been at world level, but they're not quite there anymore. And I don't mean a Chris Van here, I don't know anything like that. I think that's probably he's already probably beyond that now. But I mean, something similar to that, but a newer version of that. I think that would be his next logical step. It's a hard division. I mean, when you get to the top there, even if Crawford disappears, and I wouldn't even say people like Stanios and all them, because they're just really hard to fight. To go up a weight class and move into a fight like that would be a real risky move. So yeah, it's hard to see where, but he needs a guy who's been around that level, but it's no longer that level. I think that would be the ideal move for him.
moving on to the other Eubank, Chris Eubank Jr. And there's a lot of talk now that that fight with Conor Benn's, having some legs in it now. We don't see colour here. I think Eddie's not meant to be, or there's rumours that he's not meant to be at the matchroom press conference, and they're finalising the last bits, which is possibly rumours of it being in Abu Dhabi. What do you make of this situation? It's not in the UK, it's a fight that, if it was to happen, I think the UK fans would want, but it's not. It looks like it's not going to happen in the UK.
Well, I think no. It not being in the UK means there's still a problem to be worked on, and I would say that we lose if it's not in the UK, and they all lose, and the atmosphere loses. Though Abu Dhabi's a great place to box, and it'd be fantastic. But I mean, they'll make a big event about it, the new word of event. But I think the atmosphere of that fight being in the UK of its magnitude would be like an atmosphere that most new fans in the last sort of 15, 20 years have never experienced before. So it should be here. But until he has a license, or allowed a license, or whatever it is, I don't know what the issue is anymore. Like, I don't even know if he failed the drug test now. I'm not confused. I'm not seriously. I'm not confused by it all. It seems straightforward. You fail a test, you take your penalty, and you move on. But there's so many did he fail a real test? Was it no? What? No. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. I genuinely don't know what the issue is. I don't really look into it. I don't care about all that sort of stuff. I want to see fights. If you're not allowed to fight, then you can't fight. If you're allowed to fight, then you fight. If he's allowed to fight in another country, you can argue that's still like a non-ideal situation. He shouldn't be allowed. But different countries, different jurisdictions. He wouldn't be the first fighter. Oscar Valdez boxed in a different state. He failed the drug test in one state and just popped over the border and boxed in another state. So it's not a unique situation. But it's been dragged on for so long that it's not a good look for the sport, or for Conor, or for Chris Jr. It's not a good look, or for Eddie Hearn, or for whoever else involved. It's not a good look for them. None of them are happy with it, by the way. But they're trying to deal with the best they got. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. I don't lose any work. But it's just we've been given so much information. It's muddied the water. That's what's happened. We've been chucked information. So many voices involved in it, that I'm confused by the whole thing. It seemed straightforward, first of all, and now I'm not so sure what the issue is.
Let's talk about the aftermath of Riyadh.
Thank you.
A question I do want to ask you is, post Ngannou and Fury, do you feel like Francis Ngannou can be a player in the game in regards to fighting the top boys in the heavyweight division?
Who knows? We still don't know how good he is. It's hard to tell. I think the fact that he took the heavyweight champion of the world to a razor-thin decision, which is what it was, then you tend to think that he is world-class, or he should be in with bigger names. But also, for his profile, he's not going to go anywhere but a big name. That's the truth of it. He's not boxing anyone but a Wilder, or a Joshua, or an USYK, or a Fury again. Then financially, that's where he's at now. Whether he's good enough, I don't know. Fury was awful, and Ngannou was great. So he's obviously better than what we all thought, but how good he is, I still think there's no. The fight should be a gauge of. I don't think there is a gauge. It's a crazy situation. I mean, I never thought we'd say this. And Fury's got to take the blame. He's got to take the blame for it.
Question then comes in is that after that fight, do you feel that Fury's still got the passion? And if he was to go into that USYK fight, do you feel like we'll see what we saw with the normal Tyson Fury? It was just maybe he might have overlooked Francis Ngannou.
Well, going based on that fight alone, you tend to think he's lost a step. Maybe the motivation because he's an extremely rich man now, and he got a TV series and all the stuff taking away his focus. So maybe he's not the same fighter he was. But I would also say his career is littered with good performances, later on great performances, and then awful performances. If you look back at his career, quite often he's dipped very low and reached very high. So maybe this is one of those ones. Maybe he took it lightly, I don't know. But we can't make excuse for him. It's his job to get it right. We have to remember that. And for that fight, he maybe think he didn't have to train, and maybe he didn't. But you've got to get mentally right for the fight. You've got to be aware of some sort of danger. Though I was one of the big advocates saying it wasn't a dangerous fight. He could do what he wanted to do, but he couldn't do anything, and he looked awful. So who knows? I think you still got to base the fight on his best, unless he's shown a consistency of decline. But that's hard to tell because they box once, twice a year now. You can't even gauge if there is a decline in them because the fights are so far apart. There's no consistency in being able to evaluate their performances, to say if they are losing a step. Who knows? He might do. He might have lost a step. If he's lost a step, when you're a fighter who fights off the cuff and you're a lot of movement, when you lose a step, it's easy. You see it clearly. It's easier to see. It's highlighted because you're slower. You're getting caught easier. You're not pulling the triggers fast enough. All those things have become big issues. So if that's the problem, then he doesn't have a chance against USYK. But if you judge him at his best and USYK at his best, because of added with the weight on top and the right reach and the height, then you have to make him a favourite still. Though, how can you say that now? What happened the other week? But I still do, yeah.
Final one. There's talk, possibly, I think Eddie's sort of talking about it as well, where he's been questioned about maybe AJ and Ngannou. Is that a fight that you'd like to see, especially at the point that people are saying AJ is still sort of finding his feet with Eric Lewis? You know, he's still trying to. The Wilder fight's not happening right now. So is this the fight that you'd like to see?
Yeah, I think the fact that he's been with Derek James long enough now to say they know each other well enough to get some sort of respect and understanding about the way they go forward. It is a fight I'd like to see, yes. Because, we still look like there's a lack of confidence in Joshua. Though I think the Helenius knockdown, the way he delivered the shot, the way he set it up, will go a long way to rectifying that mental block that he's had. So who knows? I think so.
Barry, I do want to thank you for your time, and I'll speak to you.
Chris before he goes.
No, there's here, and then there's this guy, there's me. Yeah. So man, thank you very much, Barry. I appreciate it. So man.